episode of Dead Men Walking.
Yeah.
I'm your host, Greg. To my right, we have Mr. Jason Hamlin. How are you, Jason?
Hello, sir.
We are still live from the Fight, Laugh, Feast rally in Rapid City, South Dakota. And boy, are we having fun. And we've got someone special on here. He is a commentator. He's a host of the Steve Deace Show on the Blaze Network. He's got a new book out called The Faucian Bargain, the most powerful and dangerous bureaucrat in American history. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Steve Deace, how are you, sir?
I'm doing great, guys. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Our fake audience loves you. I'm going to keep using that joke,
I'm
Jason.
a big fan of fake audiences.
Yeah,
I've learned that, actually. I'm trending within fake audiences.
Oh, my gosh. So, Steve, you gave just a rousing 1 hour up there on stage and covered so much. And I know we just have a couple minutes with you, but can we just say, what the heck is going on in America, man? Like, what is up right now?
I think what you're, in a big picture, what you're looking at, and this has been a cliche that politicians have used for a long time and probably didn't fully understand what they meant when they utilized it, but you're living through it now. You're literally watching the battle for the soul of a culture take place.
That's good.
And it's playing out right now in real time. And it's this I call it on my show, and I don't do a Christian show, but I don't hide my faith from my audience either. But I also recognize I'm reaching a very so
Sure.
Can I communicate this in a way that they would understand if they're not necessarily coming from the same tradition or worldview that I am, but maybe have some of the same impulses or practical beliefs. And the way we describe it to our audience is that it's not a country that is polarized. It's a country that is balkanized, and that's next level.
So unpack that a little bit for us. What do you mean?
Polarized means that there are places of very wide opinion within a matrix. A balkanization means there are irreconcilable opinions operating within a matrix.
Okay.
And that you've given up on reconciling them because you recognize these aren't reconcilable.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
I can't reconcile with there's no male or female. I can't reconcile with the earth blows up in 10 years. You know, I can't, they're just, these are things that just, I can't find a way to accommodate you, and you're obviously not finding a way to accommodate me.
Correct.
And so you're living in like a Yugo America is what you're living through. And there's two distinct countries. There's the left America, and then there's what's left of America. And in that left America, you have essentially, that's where the spirit of the age operates. And that is an attempt to create a completely compliant, non-conformist, absent of critical thinking citizenry. And within the other, what's left of America, you've got a motley crew of beliefs. You've got people like we're at an event like this.
Sure.
You've got probably atheist Bill Maher from Real-Time HBO.
Yeah.
You've got Naomi Wolf, the feminist attorney or the feminist author, is my new buddy. All right, and
Wow.
she's like tweeting me out and sharing me with her audiences, and I think it's because the previous era of America, guys, was about how far am I allowed to take my own conscience. So I believe I'm same-sex attracted, for example. I'm wrestling with this though because my conscience that God gave me says this is wrong. But I don't want to wrestle with my conscience anymore. I want my desires to inform my conscience, not my conscience to inform my desires. Wow. Christians come along and say, that's actually not the way this whole thing works. All right, that God gave you your conscience to inform your desires, not the other way around. Thus, we have a conflict, okay?
Right.
And so, you know, the three of us sitting here at this table would debate the Andrew Sullivan, probably America's first respected gay intellectual. Okay. We would debate him vehemently for 20 years on homosexuality on the grounds that you are determining your conscience by your desires, not your desires by your conscience, right? Here's what's happening, though. Go read Andrew Sullivan's Twitter feed now.
Okay.
And I would tell you anywhere from up to 50% of it in a given day, we could write a lot of that. If I went to my audience and told them these are my tweets, not Andrew Sullivan's, half the time they would believe me.
Wow.
Why? Because our debate with the Andrew Sullivans of the world was about the extent we are permitting things under a sovereign God to go with the freedom of our conscience. The new debate now is, do I have the freedom to form my own conscience at all?
Yeah.
Wow.
That's the new debate.
Yeah.
Wow.
And that's what's going on with COVID, Stan. That's the idea where, you know, it used to be we had to tell human beings, this is more serious than you think, to get them to react.
Sure.
Now they get upset if you tell them it's not as serious as you think. They're mad at you.
Yeah.
They're like Mel Gibson in the movie Ransom. Give me back my son.
Yeah.
Give me back my apocalypse. How dare you take it away from me?
Yeah.
Because it's not an apocalypse, it's an idol.
Yeah.
You're smashing their idol in front of them.
Wow.
And it's because the spirit of the age demands conformity. And so what you're going to find in what's left of America is this coalition is going to get much more diverse, because there's going to be a lot of people that don't agree with us on virtually a lot of things.
Absolutely.
But are also believe that they get to make up their own about some stuff. They get to think for themselves. And so the challenge for us as believers in this coming cultural realignment will be, one, don't muzzle the ox while it's treading the grain. If whoever's not against us is for us, right? If Bill Maher wants to preach the gospel of critical thinking that helps advance our worldview, I'm not going to get in the way of that. He's more than welcome to do that.
Right.
Take yes for an answer, even from non-traditional sources. But then we need to maintain the distinctiveness of the gospel as well, because ultimately we understand the goal here isn't saving American culture or heritage or anything of that nature. That really the goal is the communication and preservation of the gospel that much of American culture was originally inspired by. Yeah. And so I think that we're going to have to learn to do both of those things at the same time.
Wow.
You know what's been interesting to me? I don't think I've seen anything like this in my lifetime. I mean, I was born in 1981, but it seems like on TV, I go to Planet Fitness. Mm-hmm. I work out, no big deal.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's 20 TVs across the every single one of those TVs has something about COVID.
Yes.
Every single one of them. And it's like it's just being jammed down our throat. I mean, everything. And it's like, okay, how about we find out some real data? I think there's a point.
Which is what Steve Book also covers too.
Yeah, mm-hmm. and it's just like there's a moment where it's just like, you're lying, and you're lying.
Yes.
Do they know they're lying, though? They
some do,
themselves.
some do,
what do you
some
think?
don't. And I think this is one of the things that we hope Fauci and Bargan does. And I think we as believers have to, Jesus would put it better than me, obviously. I mean, he's God.
How humble of you.
But we have to flesh out the false objection.
Okay.
And I think this is what Christ means when he says it's time to kick the dust from your sandals and move on. Meaning the objections now are false. Meaning there is no objective case I could make to you that you will accept. You just want to reject it out of hand, regardless of what I offer.
So frustrating.
Yeah.
Okay? And I think that's where we have to, because on the other hand, we are given permission to kick the dust off our sandals and move on. But then, Paul's over here reminding us that mercy triumphs over judgment, right? And so in the end, we offer one of the reasons we stand for objective truth is it doesn't just speak to the character of our faith, but I think it improves the capacity and capability of our witness. Meaning, I don't have to lie. I don't have to cut a narrative. Yeah. I don't have to deceive. Yeah. The question I took at the end today about vaccinations.
Yes.
I want to make sure that addition of vaccine passports, we don't lie about the vaccine data and do 100%. Back to them what they did to us for the last year.
Yeah. We need to be intellectually consistent.
Yes,
100%.
Because a lie, what is 0 times 0?
Yeah.
0. Yeah. What's a lie times a lie? A lie.
Yeah.
All right, we're not part. Right, we're Christians, and so if we can't make up an argument, a freedom, liberty-based argument against vaccine passports without lying about the data, then maybe our arguments suck on this. Okay, and so I think we've got to make sure we know what the data is,
right?
And then when we advance it to people, when we offer it to people, that's when we find out the false objection.
Yeah.
Right.
Like you've seen, there's actually been some mainstream media people. Chris Cuomo, of all people, just the other night had Andy Slavitt on from the Biden administration, and he went past buckwheat, unticed. He went to a fourth attempt. He asked him 4 times, "I'm vaccinated. Why do I still have to wear a mask?"
Wow.
And he kept going back to pin him down over and over and over again. And Andy Slavitt could not give a good answer, and he destroyed him. When we applaud all communicators of truth.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right? No matter how flawed they are, if they are being used as a vessel, as Luther pointed out, God once spoke out of the back of a donkey's rear end. He can speak out of Chris Cuomo, all right? So when Chris Cuomo communicates the truth, we stand for it, and that gives us more credibility later when he goes back to lying, which is what he'll typically do.
Right.
But the reason that we want to flesh out the false objection with data like we have in Fauci and Bargan, so like you mentioned Planet Fitness.
Yeah.
I work out at Planet Fitness in Des Moines, all right? So last year, they wanted us to start wearing masks.
Yep.
I went to the manager of my Planet Fitness and I said, I showed her the data and I said, hey, the World Health Organization said this is not healthy.
Yeah.
It's not healthy to do strong masked.
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't threaten her with like calling the governor,
Right.
who I know, or the Better Business Bureau, although I would have done those things if I had to. But I went to her first earnestly with data. Then enough of us did this that guess what? A week later, they amended it and said, we ask that you just wear a mask in the common area when people are coming in and out. When you're working out, though, obviously you don't have to wear a mask.
Yeah.
That's an example of what I mean. Bring people objective data and truth.
Right.
If they respond, then, we feed sheep, right?
Yeah.
And then if they don't, then we, metaphorically speaking, we shoot wolves. But we don't know who the sheep and the wolves are first unless we bring them earnest, objective truth to begin with.
I would argue that's even a biblical principle. You see Paul standing up and going, hey, are you guys allowed to do this to a Roman citizen? Because I'm a Roman citizen. I need a fair trial, and he used within the means of logic and to he wasn't out there rabble-rousing his group of people to go storm the jail. It was, hey, there's a system here, there's facts, there's logic, things like that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. Steve, we thank you so much for coming on.
Thank
and
you.
guys, for those of you listening, make sure you show Fauci and Bargan. What an awesome book as well.
The best place to get it is Amazon. Here's why. I know everybody hates them. We do too. It's also where 83% of all books were sold.
Yeah.
And so there was no way. There was literally no way
yeah.
we could get this to masses without going through them. If we keep it there, we can constantly do an instant fulfillment so that we never run out of copies.
There you go. Yeah, we want to get listeners that book. Steve, thank you so much for being on. Guys, thanks for listening. And always, God bless. Be sure to follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Dead Men Walking Podcast for full video podcast episodes and clips, or email us at deadmenwalkingpodcast@gmail.com.